Hey folks, today I wanted to do a follow-up on a video I posted a little while ago in which I made fun of the YouTube channel Geeks+Gamers for getting offended that X-Men 97 was set to have a non-binary character. You don't need to have seen that video to know what's going on here, but it's linked above if you want more context on where I'm coming from. Put, mildly, Jeremy's video aged like milk. It's 5 straight minutes of Jeremy whining about the existence of non-binary people, claiming the show is ruined, and misunderstanding a statement made by Bob Iger. Truly the highest tier of content. This video aged so poorly, in fact, that the comment section under that video is flooded with users mocking Jeremy for his embarrassingly poorly thought out predictions. As it turned out, X-Men 97 was nothing short of fantastic. A well-written political allegory, for the most part, that took extreme advantage of what initially looked to be a less than stellar art style. It's a great show, possibly the best that Marvel's put out in recent years, something that, importantly, friends of Jeremy and members of his own audience seem to agree on.
Obviously, X-Men 97 seems to be a massive success, and people that have seen it really love it. Everybody. I haven't heard any negative things said about X-Men 97. None.
What makes all this so interesting is that Jeremy actually took the time to respond to this criticism and seemingly have a little fun at his own expense. Now, before we take a look at his response, I want to remind you of what exactly was said. Jeremy claimed specifically that X-Men 97 was ruined because a single character in the show was said to be non-binary. That was the claim. Remember it. Let's see how he owns up to his mistakes. On May 5th, the Geeks+Gamers YouTube channel uploaded a video titled X-Men 97 Just Ruined My Career, in which he rewatches his old video and admits that his predictions were wrong and that he shouldn't have been so hasty to judge a piece of art based on one superficial detail. Wait.
I'm not above being wrong about something. It's not the end of the world. I don't know why people think this is some gotcha, but I'm going to acknowledge it because so many people have seemed to think I'm trying to hide from this. I'm not. She had the mohawk in the comics. That is not why Disney is going with the SJW haircut. It's just not. It's just not. I stand by that. I stand by that claim. But we got a little bit of an issue suddenly because this is how it goes with Disney. The moment that, you see something you're maybe a little bit excited about. Touching your face again, Jeremy. We get this right here from X-Men Updates. Morph's characterization in X-Men 97. This is a lighter take on the character who is non-binary and has an interesting buddy relationship with Wolverine. The character's past with Mr. Sinister, the show's villain, could also come into play. Now, I stand by these concerns 1,000%. If I had this to do all over again, I would still have these concerns based on what we have seen from Disney, from Marvel, from Lucasfilm, from Hollywood in general. So I have absolutely no problem with myself from 2 months ago having this concern based on everything that we've seen. Not one single problem.
No, of course he doesn't do that. I was excited at first to see how this channel might rationalize its poor reasoning. In an ideal world, Jeremy would look at his initial commentary, then look at the quality of the product he was commenting on, and realize that something was wrong here. I wasn't expecting him to do a complete 180 on every bit of what I will generously call political commentary he's ever made, but I at minimum expected him to question why he got this prediction so wrong. So let's explore that process for a moment. The original Geeks+Gamers video made 2 primary critiques of X-Men 97, at least 2 that I find worth discussing. Bear in mind that the show had not yet released, so I don't expect his critiques to be 100% accurate, I just expect there to be a logical through line. One of his criticisms went as follows. Morph is non-binary, therefore, quote, fuck this show. The second was a tad more nuanced.
And we got this trailer for X-Men 97, and look, there's a lot to like about this trailer for sure. I had some criticisms of it on Geeks+Gamers Daily, but overall, I think there's some pretty good stuff in here. Some of the animation bothered me, and just quit touching your face, bro. Like, what the hell's wrong with me? Some of the character models, like, not that they're bad, but like Rogue, I didn't think looked great. I just think there was something about like the background animations were pretty good, but the character models didn't seem to line up with it at all times. That's just me.
Both of these criticisms turned out to be incorrect or unjustified, but I find the latter to be infinitely more reasonable. So much more reasonable that I actually agreed with it at the time. X-Men's animation looked like it was going to be rough, to say the least. In fact, I'll even go a step further and say that I still think that Jeremy was justified in criticizing the show's animation. While it turned out to look a lot better in the final product, our initial impressions were less than fantastic, and more importantly, our critiques more specific. Jeremy saw a problem and identified what he believed to be the cause. He was measured in his criticism and didn't overstate his case. If Geeks and Gamers videos were full of critiques of this caliber, I'd wager he'd have a half-decent YouTube channel on his hands. No, the problem lies, as most problems do, with non-binary morph. Where Jeremy was measured and reasonable talking about the animation quality, he suddenly became emotional and offended. While he objectively had less information to go off of, he nonetheless felt that the presence of a trans character was a show-ruining affair. Now that the show is out, we know that it in fact was not a show ruiner. Well, most of us knew that already, but you know what I mean. Which raises the question, why does Jeremy still think he was right? I mean, he laid out a specific cause-effect relationship, that a non-binary character was the direct cause of the show being ruined, and yet this effect never came to pass. The cause he complained about is still very much present. Morph is explicitly depicted as non-binary, and the show is unambiguously progressive in its messaging. But the show's also great. Any reasonable person would, you'd think, comment on this discrepancy, comment on the fact that the underlying logic of the original video was clearly flawed, and yet no such commentary exists. Even now, as Jeremy purports to own up to his poor judgment, he still sweeps the actual problem under the rug, that despite his initial belief, a show can have a non-binary person and still achieve greatness. This isn't a new phenomenon, media denounced by these types of people as woke garbage being ultimately embraced when said media turns out to be too good to hate, but it's always depressing that each time this happens, none of these characters reflect on why they were wrong in the first place. I genuinely respect the goal behind Jeremy's video, to own up to one's judgment errors and embrace a new way of thinking. But Jeremy has utterly failed at achieving this goal. His commentary, while calmer in this video than most, is still equally as shallow. The most he can muster is a few jokes about his nervous tics and the claim that I was wrong, even though everything I said was actually right. But it doesn't end there. A few weeks ago, Jeremy posted his live response to the trailer for Prime's Fallout, and I'll just play you the extent of his commentary here.
Be alone.
Holy fuck of the diversity.
Why did you join the Brotherhood?
Oh my god, the diversity. Diversity!
What is happening here?
Was that a dude screaming like that? Go back to
I
that.
think so. This guy is getting killed.
Holy fuck, dude, that was so bad.
To disagree on how.
This is no thanks. I'm done. I'm out. No. That looks like Disney Star Wars. That's what that looks like. Yeah.
I've played most of the Fallout games. I'm not some big fan. I'm not some super into the lore or anything like that. But overall, it's got 60,000 upvotes, 3,000 downvotes over on Prime Video.
Here we go. We'll see what everybody thinks about it. But I'm not interested. Not interested.
He hasn't learned shit. To Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers, the mere presence of a black person represents substantive criticism in and of itself. When I call this guy racist or transphobic, this is why. He knows for an unambiguous fact that the presence of marginalized people does not affect the quality of a product, something that the rest of us have known since time immemorial, but he continues to pretend otherwise. When you establish a consistent pattern in which you identify black, gay, trans, etc. as bad things and refuse to own up to the obvious folly of this line of thinking, you earn the label of bigot. If, Jeremy, if for some reason you want to shake this accurately applied label, you need to change your behavior. You need to start asking yourself why seeing an NB person in a movie makes you immediately take to Twitter to whine. You need to ask yourself why, whenever you see a black person on screen in a movie trailer, you feel the need to screech, diversity. You need to ask yourself why this apparent diversity is enough to turn you off from a piece of media. Until you do this, until this happens, you will continue to see these labels cast your way. Not because the radical left is trying to silence dissent, but because you've dug yourself a very racist hole. Like and subscribe. See you later. Also, Fallout was great. 8.5 out of 10.